You know, York just had a 5K dash to help support scholarships. Gettysburg has some stuff there to help the Civil War artifacts and museum and all the rest of that. So each of our campuses has something special going on to help represent their communities.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's
it really
awesome.
is great.
I participated on the committee, the Human Services Committee with Karen Polite.
Yes.
And we acknowledged one of the students that we thought that truly embodied in regard to that particular, you know, track and curriculum. And it was an exciting process because I didn't even realize it was such a, you know, an award and acknowledgement of that particular field and how they were looking at who those young people were. And the reason I say that is because I don't think enough people really appreciate and understand human services and the opportunities that avail themselves and how that can come out and really assist and support our communities.
Yes. And I'll tell you, our human services program at the college is burgeoning. It has a very good reputation in the community. Our faculty, Nancy Summers and others, are very well respected in this community. So it's the beginning, it's the stepping point, I think, for our students to finish with our associate's degree and then transfer to Millersville or, as you said, Westchester and others to get their social work degree or other things. So it's really quite an exciting place.
Absolutely.
For me, the staple programs were always your culinary program was always big, and also nursing.
Yes.
Oh, nursing,
are they still
definitely.
big programs?
Huge. You know, almost 50% of nurses in our entire service region are educated through HAC.
Wow.
50%. 100% of the general office managers, if you will, are fire. You know, emergency medical, you know, at our public safety center over there. Huge program, but our nursing is very well known, our dental hygiene, all of our allied health, sonography and all, but our culinary program with Brico here in town, you know, associated with the Harris Corporation and all, that has been phenomenal. So there are, and you know, our Midtown campus as well, we have at Midtown our career and technical programs. So our welding, our electrical, our carpentry, our GIS, you know, the Geographic Information Systems, architecture, all in the Midtown area has just been good for that Midtown location. So thanks for recognizing that, Nate. I really am pleased to be here because there's so many programs so well known.
Almost forgot about the Midtown program.
I know. That,
really
up and
that
growing.
happened a couple of years ago. It's growing. There's over 1,000 students. We have about 1,300 students in Lebanon. We have about 1,300 students at our Midtown Center that's associated with the Harrisburg campus. And it's just been great. And we've been trying to do a lot with the community, bringing the children in from the community for reading sessions and other kinds of events to help expose them to a collegiate experience. Even though we know that they're young, at least to let them know that HAC could be an option for them as well.
Years ago, I remember reading an article that talked about Central Pennsylvania and how you can go from an associate degree to an MD degree or law degree right in this area.
Very nice.
We're 15, 20 miles outside of, you know, Harrisburg, you're, you know, you're able to do all that. And the question has been asked recently, especially, whether or not college is still worth it in terms of the rising cost of, you know, tuition and everything else, and then, you know, getting out there trying to find a job in this job market and that kind of stuff. So how would you answer that? Is a college degree still worth it?
A college degree is almost necessary. We know from all the research that a high school degree is the bare minimum and isn't really going to benefit a family long term. They're going to need some college or for sure at least an associate's degree. Most of the jobs that are being created are technician jobs. Yes, there is the need for the bachelor's degree, the master's and professional degrees, but most of the jobs in the next 5 to 10 years are going to be those that are going to be a technician. A good living wage for a family, but I believe that, yes, to complete globally, Nate, we're anywhere from 12th to 15th, depending on the report that you read in the world, as far as those people that have a certificate or a degree. President Obama 2 years ago asked us as a nation to make sure that by 2020, you know, we get most of our communities, most of our citizens here to at least get a certificate, an associate's degree or higher so that we can compete again internationally. And that's one of the reasons a college degree or at least college activity is critical to, I believe, our future. Second, as far as the price goes, you and I probably read the New York Times a couple weeks ago where there was a young lady talking about how she was leaving her college in New York and it was going to be a $200,000 debt. In some ways, that is just not only shocking, but it's really sad. So that's where community colleges play a key role because I believe that we are very price affordable for families, working individuals. 75% of our students are part-time because they're working full-time or carry 2 or 3 part-time jobs. So yes, it's necessary internationally for us to be competitive, and yes, it's affordable if you look at community colleges. And then many of the scholarships, Nate, many people don't realize the numbers of scholarships that the college has and that others provide that go without being spent on an annual basis. There is money out there, federal, state, and scholarships. There are many generous people in this community who really have scholarships available, but they don't, the students, potential students, don't access them the way that I hope eventually we'll be able to get the word out so they can.
You know, it's interesting you said that, because we had on several occasions that was shared with us, that there are dollars for scholarships and they can't find students that are taking advantage or applying for them.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's a breakdown in communication. I'm not quite sure why the information's not being passed on, but that's just unfortunate to see that.
It is, Pat, and I do think that there's a lot here that we need to take a look at.
Yeah.
I think there's so much information, people don't know where to go. So we need to do a better job at focusing people on where they need to go to look for these things. The web's great, but there's so much information on the web. We need at HACC, on our website, which is being redone right now, we're hoping to get to the point where people can be driven to not only HACC-related scholarships, and it's not just for academic merit. It could be for financial need as well as all of the other Harrisburg area scholarships available through the Cultural Enrichment Fund, through many of the foundations in our communities. You know, the York Community Foundation has several scholarships that students can access. So there's availability, we just need to make people aware of it.
The other thing people, I think, need to know is that we always talk about colleges, we're talking about someone just graduated from high school and then going to college. But actually, the community college has a lot of returning adults. And what's the average age?
Average age is 29, so it's a year older than you, Nate. But what's interesting is at graduation in May, what I like to do is I like to ask the hundreds of graduates, and we had about 600 of the 1,000 graduates show up at the farm show in May. And the way I like to start is to help people in the audience understand who's graduating. So I will ask people, how many of you graduated from high school 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? In this graduating class, a gentleman stood up who graduated 45 years ago from high school.
Fantastic.
And he is beginning his third career. And it was just exciting. I think it was interesting to hear people applaud him. And it just showed, and the reason I try to do that is to show people you're never too old, that old adage. However, we had so many people at a variety of ages, and at 29, some are coming back for a second career, some are coming back to finish school that they started. How many of our students in January I run into have been at a school, but you know, it just wasn't for them in that August through December timeframe. So they're going to try and get their credits and then maybe transfer out again. So it's amazing that 29, and the average age statewide, I believe, in the community colleges is 27 to 29, and nationally as well. That's a national. The one thing I wanted to let you know is, you know, we have about 50,000 alums in our service region, and historically, community colleges, those graduates stay within a 50-mile radius of where they graduated from. So 50,000 alums in that service region, it's quite phenomenal. They go on then to a 4-year degree or military or in the workplace to pick up a few extra credits or certificate. We have many certificates that will allow people to kind of jumpstart, you know, CNA. Some of our students who are maybe not English speakers initially, they will become a certified nursing assistant. Then once they get proficient in English, then they will maybe apply to our LPN school, our RN school, and so they can ladder. And that's what we're looking at doing, because the demographics of our community is changing, and we're trying to make sure that we're addressing that. You know, Lancaster has a very large Latino population, and we're trying to really look at ways that we can engage the community to ensure success within that community.
Well, and another thing that can just piggyback off of what Nate asked in that question is, you have a lot of continuing education opportunities as well. So if you have folks that just want to, let's say, take up certain other photography, okay,
that's right.
If they have other interests in some regard, that they can come in and maybe not work towards an associate's degree, but just for satisfying their own interests in certain ways. And that's always been very part of it. I remember my mother, when she retired down in the D.C. area, that she went to the community college and started taking piano lessons, right? And she did some flower arrangement, and she did some things of that nature just to keep her busy and occupied.
And we play that role. I think we call those avocational. That I think it's very important, and the park districts do a nice job in this area with that. We also look at having those folks come for a class or two to maybe hone their skills a little, and then others who will come for a degree or a certificate.
Exactly.
There are a number of different, let's call it entry points or admissions points into. Explain that process. How does one, apply to HAC, and when can they apply to Harrisburg Area Community College?
Now, if it's for